My name is Judy Miller. I live at the Wellington in Liberty, Missouri, and I'm going to read a book called Claudette Colvin, I Want Freedom Now. It's by Claudette Colvin herself and writer Philip Hoos. It's illustrated by B. Jackson. This story is told in the words of civil rights hero Claudette Colvin. This heartfelt story illustrates how one simple act of courage can change the course of history. I've always asked big questions. Why don't stars fall from the sky? Where is Japan? But when I was a young girl, my biggest question was, why do white people think they're better than me? Signs across Montgomery, Alabama, where I lived, told me where I could and couldn't go. Restrooms, stores, drinking fountains, and restaurants. When I needed shoes, Mom had to trace my foot onto a grocery bag and carry the tracing to the store because whites didn't want our feet in their shoes. I couldn't try on dresses either. I could watch white people eat at the lunch counters downtown, but I couldn't sit and eat. The worst was the bus. It was like a sore tooth that never quit aching. Whites sat in the front, blacks sat in the back. Even if there were empty seats, I had to stand up and move back if a white passenger wanted my seat. I hated it. Grown-ups said, "Claudette, this is just how things are." It made me angrier. I wanted change, but what could I do? We'd been studying Black history in school. My teachers were proud to be Black. They told us about great civilizations in African history. Little by little, they gave me a goal: to liberate my people. One day, when I was 15, I boarded the bus home from school. I daydreamed in an empty row as the bus filled. Suddenly, I realized a white passenger wanted my seat. She was angry. "Get up, gal," the white bus driver was yelling. But this time, I didn't. As the driver kept shouting at me, I felt the weight of strong Black women pressing down on me. Sojourner Truth on one shoulder, Harriet Tubman on the other. History kept me glued to my seat. Soon, 2 police officers came storming down the aisle, but I didn't move. I shouted, "It's my constitutional right to sit here." My struggle for freedom was about to start on this bus. The officers yanked me from my seat. My school books went flying. I was handcuffed, shoved into a police car, and locked in a jail cell downtown. The click of the lock was terrifying. There was nothing besides a toilet and a cot. I sank to my knees, sobbing. I was all alone. Did my parents even know where I was? Would my protest make any difference? I prayed every prayer I knew. Later that night, my mom and my pastor came to get me out. Mom didn't say much, but I could tell she supported me. My pastor, on the other hand, couldn't stop talking. "I'm so proud of you, Claudette," he said. "Everyone prays for freedom. You're different. You want freedom now." The next day at school, everyone was laughing at me. Kids held their noses when I passed in the hallway, saying mockingly, "It's my constitutional right." That made me furious. Why was I being teased for doing what was right? But I had bigger problems. The police had filed charges against me. They even said I had attacked a police officer. I could have just paid a fine, but I wanted to fight in court. So Montgomery's Black leaders hired a young lawyer named Fred Gray to defend me. They held bake sales and beauty contests to raise money to pay him, and all of Montgomery's Black churches pitched in. I liked Fred. He was prepared to win. But when the day of my case came, it was over in a flash. The white judge barely looked up. "Guilty on 3 charges," he ruled. I could live at home, but if I got in more trouble, I'd be sent away. My spirit sank. I had tried to fight for freedom, and look where it got me. Nowhere. I couldn't go anywhere except Sunday school for fear of getting in trouble. I was angry and worn out. Didn't anyone else care that we were treated unfairly? I didn't know it then, but my story inspired other people. 9 months after my protest, a woman named Rosa Parks bravely kept her bus seat when ordered to move. She was arrested too and released from a cell after a few hours. Word of Parks' arrest crackled around town. She was a celebrity. I felt like a nobody. They didn't even spell my name right. I tried not to be jealous. At least I got things started, I thought. Black people decided to boycott the buses, not ride them, until we were treated better. We built our own system for getting people around. It felt good to see empty buses rumble through the city like green and yellow ghosts. The boycott dragged on for months, but the bus company wouldn't change its ways. We needed something new. Fred Gray, my lawyer, had an idea. He thought the bus laws were unconstitutional, and he wasn't giving up. He decided to sue the city and the bus company. He went looking for Black passengers to tell their ugliest bus stories to judges in court. But he couldn't find anyone willing, because if your name or picture was printed in the newspaper for this, you could be risking your life. Fred came to our house one night after supper. He explained his idea and said, "I already know you've got guts, Claudette, and a powerful story. Will you help?" This was a big question. Yes, it was dangerous, but it gave me another chance to help my people. I took a long breath and said, yes. The hearing came on May 11th, 1956. The case was called Browder versus Gale, the bus riders against the city. I wore my best blue dress to the federal courthouse. All 4 on our side, Aurelia Browder, Susie McDonald, Mary Louise Smith, and I were women. Mary and I were teenagers. I was called as a witness early in the afternoon. The city's lawyer tried to get me to say that riding the bus was pleasant and the boycotters were simply brainwashed. I stayed strong and spoke our truth. His final question was, "Why did you stop riding the bus?" I practically spat my answer, "Because we were treated wrong, dirty, and nasty." Hours later, word came that 2 of the 3 judges had agreed with us. We won! Racially segregated bus seating was now illegal in Alabama. Anyone could sit in any empty seat. 6 months later, the Supreme Court would agree with the Alabama judges, making it illegal across the whole country. So it was that in my young life, I took 2 stands for justice, and I would do it again, because you can't just ask for change. You can't sugarcoat it. You have to take a stand and say, "This is not right," like I did.